U.S. markets are closed today, but the stock was down yesterday. Governor Greg Abbott has announced 2 more deals with Mexican governors to halt increased truck inspections at international bridges. The Texas governor is not backing down. He is vowing to continue these measures overall until the border is secure. Watch.
Our job is to make it as difficult as possible for the cartels to get people to move people across the border in the state of Texas. Our goal is to put the cartels out of business, make them lose money trying to smuggle people into the state of Texas.
Joining me right now is the Attorney General of Texas. That is AG Ken Paxton. AG Paxton, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. You know, the governor was explaining last night on Tucker why he is inspecting commercial trucks. I guess in response to questions that the White House was saying that his moves to send migrants to Washington is affecting trade. Can you explain to us what's going on at the border?
Well, good morning. Yes, this is genius by the governor. We basically have a tacit agreement between the Biden administration and the cartels. And the way it works is the cartels know they can transport humans and drugs across our border, and the Biden administration will pick up those people and move them around the country. It's a tacit agreement. The cartels know the deal, and they're profiting greatly. The governor has figured out we can stop trade along the border, slow it down, and it will create pressure on Mexico and some of their governors to work out a deal to help us with border security. So he is doing what the administration won't do, which is protecting the citizens of Texas, protecting the citizens of this country from drugs and from human trafficking.
So in other words, look, he's saying to Mexico, if this doesn't stop, we're going to slow down the trade because we're going to be inspecting all of these commercial trucks. Has it worked?
Yeah, I think he's already got, as a result, I think he's already got agreements with at least 1 or 2 of the governors. And I think that you might see more of that as we go along. It's effective because you hit the Mexican government in their pocketbook, and no one wants that. And so I think they're willing to say, OK, we'll help you, given the fact that we're going to lose money.
Yeah, but the drug cartels are running everything, aren't they? I mean, we were there the last time, and the Border Patrol agents told me that these drug cartels are making upwards of $100 million a week, AJ. What's going on now, given the fact that a migrant caravan is expected to reach the border on the same day that Title 42 is going away? That is May 23rd. It's made up of mostly Guatemalans, we're told. No need to speed up their travels because the timing is just right. They arrive just as the Trump-era policy is going to go away. Title 42, what are you expecting?
Look, these people are not dumb. They're smart. They understand what the president's doing here, that he's basically giving them a pass, and it's going to become even easier to come across the border. All you have to do is show up, tell them you want to come in, and you're in, and our government will transport you around the country in the middle of the night, either on bus or plane, to some unknown location that they don't disclose.
Do you expect what we're hearing in terms of 18,000 people a day expected to be apprehended, up from 7,000? We know that the border agents are overwhelmed already, apprehending 7,000 people a day at the border, and that's not even including the gotaways.
Yeah, the numbers are astronomical. It's already been up 300% since Trump was in office. And now the numbers are looking at potentially doubling and maybe even tripling. So, yeah, we're not going to be able to handle this. And the Biden administration knows that. They know what they're going to get. They expect it. They're planning for it. And I guess this is the result they want. This encourages even more people to come across the border, which I think is ultimately the goal here. Whatever these people's background, they don't care. They just want people in the country.
Well, you've been fighting this from the front lines. How many times have you sued the administration already? I know you'll be defending the Remain in Mexico policy before the Supreme Court at the end of the month. What can we expect there, and what have you seen in terms of results from these lawsuits?
Yeah, so we've had 9 immigration lawsuits against the federal government. We have over 30 cases overall against the Biden administration. On April 26th, we will be defending the Remain in Mexico program. We've won all the way up. I really don't know how we lose. I mean, the law is completely on our side. The Biden administration does not have the authority under federal law in any way given by Congress to just ignore this problem and allow people to come in and just say, hey, I want asylum, and they get to stay. That is not allowed by federal law. And so I'd be shocked if we don't win in front of the Supreme Court. And that ruling should come down by June.
Do you think that more people are understanding the threat here? I mean, literally, it's been Fox News and Fox Business who've covered this wide open border, AJ. You don't see this very much anywhere else. Do you think it's penetrating? Do people understand? And is it resonating, the issue here that you have been out front on for so long now?
Well, I give you a lot of credit for spending time on this, for coming down here several times and actually talking to people. Unlike what the administration has done, they've never taken the time to find out what these ranchers and what people living on the border are dealing with, and the fear that they have, and the fear of not only just property damage, but the fear of having some type of harm to their family. But yes, in Texas, I know that people are getting. I hear more about immigration than any other issue. If I look at the national polls, I've seen immigration ranked as the #2 issue. So I do think a lot of Americans are understanding that, it's just not the border states that are border states. We're really all border states, because people are transported by the Biden administration very quickly, along with drugs, are being transported very quickly to other states. So there really are no real border states. We're all border states.
Yeah, well, that's what the AGs of all of the states have said when they visited the border. AG Paxton, we'll be watching it all. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Good to see you, and have
Happy
a
Easter.
blessed Easter.